Hi, I'm Taya Gill. With today's high-definition cameras, an actress needs a high-quality makeup. My secret is DMK Cosmetics. A natural foundation that covers flaws, won't rub off on clothes, and lasts the entire day. So whether you're under the brightest of lights or at a candlelit dinner with that special someone, DMK Cosmetics makes it all happen. Work in it, play in it, live in it. DMK Cosmetics. The secret's out.
Welcome to the Ron Russell Show. Set the record straight. Conversations with movie stars of Hollywood's golden years. You will be amazed at what they say, secrets, and the scandals you always wanted to know about. Stay tuned, or you'll be sorry.
Hi everybody, welcome back to the Ron Russell Show. I have a beautiful, gorgeous movie star from the 1950s with me today. I'm not going to tell you her name. I'm going to give you some hints. She reminds me of Christmas. You know why? She's got skin as white as snow, eyes as green as a Christmas tree, and hair as red as a ribbon. One problem, she can't spell. The woman just can't spell. She spells her name D-A-H-L. Wrong. It should be D-O-L-L, because she certainly is a doll. My friends, Miss Arlene Dahl.
Bravo, bravo,
Well,
Ron.
it's the truth. Look at you. You're absolutely gorgeous.
Well, you know, thank you. You know, that name was almost spelled that way because when I went out to make a screen test for Jack Warner, he wanted to change my name because he said, everybody will say, oh, you beautiful doll, D-O-L-L.
Oh.
We want to change it to Christine Winters. So you know what I said to him? I have 5,000 doll relatives throughout the Northwest and the Midwest, and if you change my name, they will boycott your films. He didn't change my name. He was a businessman.
Oh, he was a smart man. You bet he was. Now, let's talk a little bit about your life, where you are today.
Besides sitting here with you?
Well, yeah, but this is my treat and my pleasure because you've always been one of my favorite stars. I mean, you were a delight to watch, which we'll get to later on about your films.
Okay.
But the thing that I found very interesting was that you are into numerology, or you're an astrologist or an astrologer. What is it exactly?
I am an astrologer who happens to have numerology as a proving point for astrology and anything else you want to prove.
Now, you do horoscopes. Or you don't
If
do
I have
horoscopes?
to, I do,
Okay.
yes. But I interpret it. Everything is in the interpretation. You can get astrology horoscopes on the internet. Your next door neighbor
Yeah.
will do one for you.
I do.
It's easy. It's the interpretation that is the important thing.
Do you ever get feelings, talented feelings of things that are going to happen, or things that will happen to loved ones, or?
All the time. I died 3 times. Each time I came back, through the light, through the whole thing, I was given more of a gift, more of a sensitivity, so to speak.
So we're doing a whole Shirley MacLaine here.
No.
You don't
No,
believe what
Shirley, I
believes.
do believe some of the things she believes. I believe in karma. I believe in reincarnation. I believe because I have been on the other side and come back. So I know there's nothing to fear.
When did that
It's like walking through another room.
When did that happen?
I was 18 and I was, my car was hit on the side. I had a Buick Roadmaster and it turned over 3 times. I was in the hospital 3 weeks. But they thought that they couldn't find a pulse. I was dead. And my mother died when I was 15. And I remember going through that white tunnel,
Yeah.
and she was on the other side.
Greeting you.
Oh yeah.
With
But
warmth.
she said,
Don't
"It's
come.
not your time, sweetheart, but I'll be with you all the time."
I've heard this so often from so many people.
I came back about 30, 40 minutes later, but I was dead for 40 minutes.
Legally dead.
Hmm. And then I was thrown from a horse. Again, no pulse, rushed to the hospital. I don't know how long I was out. I went through the tunnel again, saw my grandfather. Not my mother this time, my grandfather. And who lived with us when I was young in Minneapolis.
Maybe it's nature's way of getting even with you. because of all the men that have watched you and their pulses stopped.
Oh, stop it.
And they had near-death experiences from looking
And
at you.
the last one was with Lorenzo.
Yes.
When he was about to be born, I had gone from New York, where he was supposed to be born, to Los Angeles to be with his father, Fernando Lamas,
Sure.
because he was going to be fitted for costumes for Lucy Goes to Sun Valley. And I didn't want to have the baby alone in New York. This is my first child. And he didn't want me alone in New York either. So against the doctor's best orders, I flew to Los Angeles. I didn't have a doctor there. I called Janet Leigh. My doctor in New York was a female doctor. I wanted a female doctor. I knew that Janet had one.
What a
She
story.
gave me her doctor's name, and she almost killed me, the doctor, not Janet. She cut, instead of cutting the bag of waters to bring the baby out sooner, she cut the placenta. So the baby started to work its way up.
Dry birth,
couldn't
is
be-
that called?
I don't know what it was,
think it's
but
called dry birth.
I just blacked out. All I remember is this little doctor going around the operating table. Nobody else was there. She was just there with me, and she cut the wrong thing, and she's going around saying, oh, what have I done, and so on. The next thing, I open my eyes, and I see this tall, very attractive, middle-aged man with a baby in his hands, and
That was
spanked
Lorenzo.
him. That was Lorenzo. He was blue. And I said, oh, doctor, is he going to be all right? Or is it a boy or a girl? He said everything, he has everything he should and nothing he shouldn't. He's going to be fine. But we both should have been dead. And before he was born, I was up in the ceiling looking down at me on the operating table, listening to all that the one was going around like this. When the doctor walked in and took over, I knew I'd be all right, but I was listening to what the nurses and the interns were saying, the doctors. He said, we got to do this quick or we'll lose both of them. And it was a Catholic hospital, and you know they only save the children. The
That's
mother
right, the mother
is
never gets
secondary.
saved.
So I was up on the ceiling watching all of this. I heard everything, so you must be very careful. When a person is in operation,
Don't say something you don't want them not
don't
to
say
know.
something you don't want them to
Like
hear.
if you're married
Or,
to a wealthy man, don't say, hurry up and die, I want your money.
by all means, don't say that.
Okay, hang
But
on one
when
second.
you've gone over, as I did several times, you can still hear what your relatives say. So be careful what you say to a person who's just died. This is how I met Mark Rosin. He walked into the room. My friend, his friend, introduced us, and I said, you're a Libra, aren't you? He said, what? No, I'm a Libra. And I said, I'll bet you were born the end of September, the 29th or 30th. Well, he got as white as his couch, had to sit down. He'd never seen me before. I'd never seen him before. You asked me if I get feelings about people. Yes, I do.
Did you say to him, and you're going to marry me soon?
No, we were both married to other people. It was completely platonic. We worked together for 5 or 6 years.
Really? That long?
Had a very successful company. I sold it. And I used to fix him up with girlfriends that were younger than
But he
I.
was married.
Yes, but he then had decided to divorce. Nothing to do with me.
Okay.
It just wasn't working. So I said, well, never mind. I'll introduce you to all my younger friends, because he was 18 years younger than and I was younger than me, and I was married very happily, I thought.
Whom were you married at the time?
His name was Skip Shawm. And he was truly named because he skipped out of my life, leaving me holding about $4 million that he owed.
He owed?
And yes.
And you got stuck with
And
it?
I got stuck with
Like a
it.
Debbie
So,
Reynolds.
whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, it happens.
Doris Day.
Yeah, whatever.
Quite a
it
few
happens.
celebrities.
You trust somebody with your soul and
Sure.
your bank book, and it happens. And he
Sure.
was a graduate of Harvard Business School, so you know.
So he knew how to
I
rob
only
good.
graduated from
Right.
Washburn High School.
Yeah, he knew how to rob well.
Yeah. So, well, but he wasn't mean that way. He just had bad luck. But he never told me.
Right. That's
So
kind
he
of
just
robbing.
disappeared.
Yeah.
Completely disappeared. We had a young son who we left when he was about 11 years old. Never saw him again. I don't know where he is today. And as far as I'm concerned, he's dead.
Now let's go to Hollywood.
Okay.
A little bit. Okay. You're a girl from Minnesota.
Minneapolis, Minnesota, yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And in 1946, you become Miss Wrangell Beer.
I was not Miss Rheingold until I was under contract to Warner Brothers,
Right.
and they signed me as Miss Rheingold in 1947.
Now you go on with your career, made a lot of movies, and suddenly everybody said, oh, I saw a film yesterday with Rhonda Fleming, and it was Arlene Dahl. Because everybody thought that Rhonda Fleming looks like Arlene Dahl.
We both had red hair.
Well, I know Rhonda. She looks nothing like you. Nothing like you at all.
Well,
I don't see the slightest
You know
resemblance.
what we decided to do? Because we each signed each other's autographs, because we don't like to disappoint our fans. So we decided to do a film together so they would see that we don't look anything
Right.
alike, except our hair is almost the same color red.
You were Arlene, the actress.
Yes,
You know,
it was one of my best
The studios
parts.
had a horrible way of making beauty. Sophia Loren did Two Women without makeup and sweaty and horrible, and was an actress. But they didn't shoot her always as the great beauty that Sophia Loren is. But I found with you, Esther Williams, Jane Russell, Jane complained the same thing to me. You know, they wouldn't give me
They
a
like
part.
to categorize you.
Well, you were beauty.
I was a
Lana
model.
Turner, the sweater. Ann Sheridan, the oomph girl. I mean, everybody had a title. And I don't know, I guess Arlene Dahl, the doll. What else would they say? No, Wicked as They Come is the film I'm crazy about.
Right.
Oh, I watch Wicked as They Come, and suddenly I see Arlene Dahl in black and white, barely any makeup, hair hanging, looking exactly like Cheryl Ladd. I couldn't get over the resemblance of Cheryl Ladd in you. And I feel that you were being molested by your father, but they wouldn't show it that way, so they had you raped.
This was in the 50s.
Right, they didn't show it. But I figured out your father was molesting you, and you were the most hurt human being. Most actresses would have played it with anger and blew out. I watched Arlene Dahl, a clever actress, implode. You went so inside of yourself that I didn't see a human being anymore. I saw a shell. I saw a cold-hearted, not evil, but bitter, wicked, burnt woman who was bent on now getting all the men in the world to give her money and to give her position. Well, I really recommend that you, if the film is on video, I don't know. If it is, I want to own it. But I recommend that you go out and get it, and you're going to love the performance. Arlene Dahl was absolutely the greatest actress.
I'm so glad I came today.
No, I'm not. This is not. I don't stroke people. Arlene Dahl did this in England in black and white. It wasn't MGM saying, "Don't move, look beautiful." She was an actress, and her greatest performance. Got to see the film.
Okay, Mr. O'Banion, the party's over. I think you'd better leave.
Most girls like to go around with guys their own age. Single guys who maybe one day will propose to them. Not you. Not Kathy Allen.
What turned Kathy, a girl as beautiful as they come, into a woman as wicked as they come? Kathy wanted plenty out of life, and she got it. Out of men. Number one was for laughs.
Sam, I've got to go.
Kathy.
Don't touch me.
Why, you stupid old fool. Don't you see, Pa, she's made a sucker out of you. Out of both of us. Well, you're nothing but a
Number two was for kicks.
Kathy, forgive me.
Please, Larry.
Oh, the words just came out. I love you, Kathy.
Larry.
I love you very much.
Don't say that, not...
I want to marry you, Kathy.
Number three was for money.
You know, this may sound silly, but I've forgotten your name.
How much are you in love with my husband? How much?
Number four was for real.
What happened to you, Kathy? What stopped you loving like everybody else? We've all got some love in us somewhere. Who killed it in you? Who cut your heart out?
I mean, I was lying in bed eating a box of donuts with my container of milk was, having a good time. And suddenly I see Arlene Dahl. I said, oh, I've never seen this film. Boy, by the end of the film, the donuts were gone, the milk was gone, and I was smiling. It's a good part, you have to admit it.
And good director, too.
Oh, he was 72 years old at the time.
Director?
Your director was 72 years old.
I didn't know that.
Yes, he was. He was
10
72.
years.
His name slips my mind right now.
But Herbert Marshall was, I believe, in his 70s, late 70s.
He was also, yeah. Now, another question.
Yes.
You're a gutsy broad. There's no question about it. Because you went on television and you did Casablanca, playing Elsa.
Yeah.
Now that belongs to Ingrid Bergman. I mean, that's like Rosalind Russell, Mame. It belongs to her, not Lucille Ball. I mean, I would have been terrified to even go before the camera. It's a Bergman piece. What did you do with it?
Well, I was flattered that they asked me to do it.
Absolutely.
And the money was good.
Good.
And I could work it between films and between writing my beauty columns and so on. So I did it.
But how'd you handle it? What was your approach? What were you thinking about driving to the studio?
Well,
how were you going to do it? What were you going to do?
You see, Ingrid Bergman was a friend of mine.
Okay,
so
lucky
I went to
you.
I went to Ingrid. We were both Scandinavian. I went to Ingrid and I wanted to know the basis of her approach to the part.
Right.
And after that, it was easy.
And do you think if you were like Arlene Dahl living on Long Island in a pretty house with a pool and your children, it would have been an easier, better life for them?
No, I was thinking some years ago that if I had stayed in Minneapolis, which could have happened, if I hadn't had a wicked stepmother who put me on a train with $100 and sent me off to Chicago.
You're kidding me.
No.
At what age?
That's
As a young
be,
girl like that?
I was 17.
And she gave you $100 and put you on a train? Smack her.
Well, if she hadn't done that, I would have 6 children and I'd be probably Kate Smith's size and living in Minneapolis. Yeah.
But all those
you see how things happen in life?
All those marriages, all those divorces,
oh, I was
all
so
that
lucky.
Crying, all that heartbreak.
Well, divorce is never easy.
Oh, it
and I was the
sucks.
only one in our family that was ever divorced. Ever. That sent me into a tailspin.
Now we get to the point in my show where I ask you a question. Set the record straight. Is there anything that you want to talk to me about that the press has over the years said about you that is not correct? And the thing that comes to mind is, I live in Palm Springs, and down the road lives Cheryl Crane and her lover, wife, girlfriend, Josh. And they're dear friends of mine. Josh was a very, very powerful model in San Francisco. She's absolutely stunningly beautiful. And they've been together 36 years, happily married. She was in my house, we were having coffee, and we were talking about a coffee table book that she's producing now about Lana Turner's jewelry, clothing, and stuff. And I said to her, I said, Cheryl, do you think gay people are born gay, or do they really choose to be gay? And she said, oh, absolutely not. She said, no, I was gay all my life. I said, you don't think when Lex Barker was raping you at 11 years old that he possibly could have turned you gay? She said, no, not at all. She said, I liked women before Lex was raping me. And I said, how did that go? She said, well, he was raping me for a very long time, and he told me if I tell my mother, they will send me away to a private school where I'll never see anybody again. And I was a child, and I was frightened. But finally, it got to the point where I told my grandmother. And my grandmother told my mother, Lana Turner, and Lana went into a rage, and she ran in the bedroom, grabbed a gun from a night table, went downstairs and got Lex Barker and said, you're out of my house in 1 hour, get your things or I'll blow your head off. And he said, what are you talking about? She said, you know what I'm talking about. If you ever go near my daughter again, I will kill you. And that's a story that's also in her book, which is called Detour. So if you want to read about this episode. And what do you think about it? You were married to Lex Barker. Was he a pedophile?
I will tell you one thing. It's an absolute falsehood because Lex Barker had the biggest package of any man I've ever been married to. If he had dared to enter her, she would have been killed. I am telling you,
You've got 100
I barely lived.
You've got 100 women out there moaning.
I am telling you, this is a falsehood. This girl wanted to get her mother's attention for whatever reason she had. She was 11 years
11
old.
going on 12.
This, I understand, at that age, you have a great imagination. And
Do you think she was in love with him?
Lex had a daughter Lynn, who is lovely, and I met her when we were married, lovely, has a son that was 2 or 3 years younger than Lynn, he would never have done that. I know that man. I know his son, his 2 sons, and his daughter. They were so upset about this. You know, when you claim something in your book to sell copies or whatever it is, and you make up stories like this, it affects not only how many readers that are buying the book to find out all this scandal, like Esther saying, you know, that Jeff was wearing clothes and whatever.
Panties, women's panties.
Unbelievable, unbelievable to sell copies. That is the meanest, and they're dead and they can't say anything for them. So I'm here to tell you it is an outright lie.
Okay. Lex Barker did not do this.
Couldn't have,
Okay.
or she'd be dead.
Now, you're going to have to help me with this because it's a little confusing. Lana Turner was married to Lex Barker, and you were married to Fernando Lamas. Am I correct?
Yes, but not at the same time.
Okay. Then Lana Turner had a love affair with Fernando where he wanted to marry her, but she didn't want to marry him. And then you went off
That's not true either.
Well, okay, but this is what I'm getting
Okay.
now. That Lana Turner was madly in love with Tyrone Power. But yeah, Hollywood's very scandalous, and sometimes it can be extremely cruel with the lies.
And the cruelty that is developed out of a conversation of being funny, perhaps, is taken seriously and is repeated over and over again and gets in the news, and they don't bother to check and find out. Real journalists did at that time, but now it's on the internet, it's all over. And how to stop these things?
Well, like I said, the
not
stuff
possible.
about Jane Russell, all the things that they said about Jane Russell were ridiculous. Age.
Yes.
Your guy is 14 years younger than you are.
No, he's 18 years younger.
18 years younger. Do you worry about, like, down the road, 10 years from now?
We were engaged for 2.5 years before we got married, and we just celebrated our 24th anniversary, so we've been together over 25 years. I was worried. Yes, I was worried that he couldn't keep up with me. I was worried that we tried yoga. I'm much better at yoga than he is.
That's a good girl.
No, but I really worried what people would say, and so in 1984, when we were married, I thought, you know, people didn't do this then. Mary Tyler Moore married a doctor who was about as young as Mark. But at this time, I was one of the first to do this. And everybody said, oh, God, what a mistake. Doesn't she know any better? After all her marriages, doesn't she know? Somebody asked me on television, how do you explain all these marriages, Arlene? And I said, just lucky, I guess. I mean, how many women are dying to find one guy?
Once, exactly.
And all of the guys that I was married to, except for one, were sensational.
You're truly Hollywood. And Hollywood that I'm sad
Old
to
Hollywood,
say.
because
No,
it
don't
has
use the word
nothing
old.
to
We
do
don't
with
like
it
old.
anymore.
We don't like old. I like golden.
A new Hollywood?
Golden years.
Yeah,
Hollywood's golden
I was
years.
so lucky. I was part of the golden,
years,
and
yeah.
I'm writing about that now. Stories about Fred Astaire and Clark Gable, who were both my dinner partners, and
We've got to do
I
this,
mean,
another
stories about my introducing Jack Kennedy to Marilyn Monroe at a big
Yes,
dinner
and
party.
you dated Jack Kennedy before you were married.
Yes, and well, that's going
Was
to
he
be
a
in my
cheap
book.
date?
Well, I paid for all, but he never had a cent in his pocket.
You had to pay for his date?
I had to pay for I used my car. He never had a car.
You're kidding me.
No, I'm not. He was wonderful.
Wonderful. He was a cheap date.
Well, yes, but I'm told that if you're in politics, you don't carry money around with you. I don't know. Maybe Obama's different.
That's because the government's always picking our pockets.
Yeah, well, I don't know, but I couldn't stand it after 2 years. We went together for 2 years.
And you're picking up the tabs for 2 years?
2 years. I'm paying off the guy who parked the car.
Are you
my
kidding
car.
me?
Oh, no, it was true.
You gotta be
But he was so interesting, and we had such a good time
How
together.
interesting is he's a cheap
And I
slave.
was a virgin, and his father liked that. And he asked me if I would study in the Catholic faith, because he wanted me to marry Jack.
The father wasn't trying to beg you himself, because he was kind of a
No,
a
he wanted to
womanizer.
manage my business affairs.
Right.
Yeah.
Amazing.
It's You won't
I
believe
can't
the
wait.
story
When
that
is this
happened.
book going to be finished?
Well, I'm up to chapter 12 now.
Okay.
It's going to be out next year.
Okay, and then I'm expecting a call from you.
Okay.
Promise me you're on
Okay.
television.
Okay.
And we'll talk.